In stage one, we say nothing is going to happen.
Stage two, we say something may be going to happen, but we should do nothing about it.
In stage three, we say that maybe we should do something about it, but there's nothing we can do.
Stage four, we say maybe there was something we could have done, but it's too late now.
Welcome back, ladies and gents. I hope you're all having an excellent weekend. In today's video, we're going to be getting into the Bitcoin charts. As usual, taking a look at Chainlink and Ethereum, but I want to put the focus on the weekly and monthly timeframes here in today's video. A little bit of a longer time frame analysis, as of course we do have a weekly closure coming up here in 16 hours. We also have seen our monthly closure come in very recently here. We want to take a look at that closure. If it is looking good for the bulls to be able to maintain this current move that we have to the upside, we of course have some very bullish factors and very interesting factors showing on the weekly time frame as far as our momentum oscillators go. That's going to help us gauge a little bit of direction behind the price action. So we want to get into all of that in today's video. I hope that you enjoy it and I hope that you get something out of it. As you guys know, I don't like to waste your time or mine, so we're going to be getting right into it here straight away. Starting off on the weekly time frame, let's get into it. So basically taking a look at the price action, of course, we've had quite a nice rise here over the past 2 weeks, coming up to that major resistance point from the January 2021 highs. So based on the lower time frames, this is definitely not a bad area very soon to get a little bit of a pullback. However, the high time frames here are what's going to be very important for the next month of potentially continuation here. So firstly, we want to take a look at our momentum oscillators here, which the stochastic is getting a cross up. We did speak about this in the previous week and the potential of it, but of course it was not confirmed just yet. And now tomorrow, unless we are to dump, another $10,000 here, it would be crossing up and finally confirming a closure to the upside or a cross to the upside here, as we did try to cross up here on the 5th of July, but we did end up getting this move further to the downside. But now we're finally getting that cross up here. This is typically going to be the basing off points. If we go ahead and take a look at the last rise that we had, for example, we can actually go back to even right here. The last time we got into the critical zone on the stochastic, this was a move from $6,500 all the way up to about 70% here, all the way up to about $10,400. The time before that was, of course, history here. You guys can see that if you were in the market here, this was the $3,000 lows. That was an absolutely fantastic move as well. And we actually did see the price action base off this region build a very nice base, similar to what we're doing now, continuously testing the lows and then move up from $3,000 all the way to $14,000, giving us about a 305% move. So the critical zone here on the stochastic is very important. That's typically going to be the basing off points for price action. Now remember that the weekly right now did break structure, and of course the market structure is still down, and so what we would need to do is reclaim resistance points, but this is a very good start on the momentum oscillators right now, reclaiming the resistance points that we're going to speak about here very, very soon. Firstly, the RSI, we are looking at a very nice move. We did also speak about this one, as we did see overall, as we're creating higher highs, as you can see from the 4th of January, this is where the RSI was placed, and so it did slowly start to lose momentum, creating lower highs and lower lows on the RSI as the price action went from 42,000 all the way up to 58,000, and the RSI was overall losing momentum, and it did fall back below the moving average here. Now we finally have regained this moving average. So this is very interesting to me, and I do very much like to see this because we actually have gotten above the 50 level and that moving average, the setup that we spoke about in last week's long-term analysis. So that is going to be very, very good for price action, especially moving back up into the bullish control territory. And that's going to come with a break off the higher resistance points, such as the January 2021 highs and the yearly R3 at $46,083. And that would be acceptance back into this all-time high range, which would give us a very high probability of at the very least oscillating that range as well. So overall, this is looking very, very nice as well. And then moving on to our momentum indicator here, of course, we saw a pivot. I would like to see it get above the median. Still not there yet, but this picking up a little bit more momentum and getting above the median and the moving average is going to be fantastic. And then, of course, the VIX, which we have come back to even since our drop on the 17th of May, which was going to be showing us multiple green bars here. And that's typically going to be the market bottoms. And that's going to be showing you that a market bottom is getting close and that we should be definitely on the lookout for it. So if we do look at the major one before this one, that was of course on the dip here back in February and March, all the way down to $3,800 in 2020, and we got 2 consecutive weeks of green bars on the VIX, and that was ultimately our reversal, bringing us up about 1,500%. And we have seen multiple green weeks of VIX here, and that is ultimately going to be good for price action as long as the resistance is reclaimed. So this is extremely good. This is very similar to what we saw back in even 2018. If you take a look at this, this was the $3,000 low that we spoke about. Now what is interesting here is we just spoke about the stochastic and the VIX having a very similar read. This is multiple weeks of green VIX in 2018, and then we actually saw that that basing off point on the stochastic in the critical zone on the VIX, and then of course getting that rise to the upside. So this is going to be extremely important as well. And all of these are basically setting up for a very nice high time frame move. Now, if you guys think that this is a high time frame move, generally, this is quite a nice move already, right? 40%. However, reclaiming the resistances on the upside and getting this momentum coming in on the weekly time frame, that's going to be good for price action. And of course, our CVD here as well. This is a new indicator that someone shared with me. Of course, CVD is very powerful in and of itself. However, this indicator specifically on TradingView is quite a nice one that I've been taking a look at, and getting above this moving average is going to be extremely good for price action. So this is typically going to give you signals a little bit later on. However, if we do look at the last one that we got here, that was back in on the 19th of October 2020, and you guys know where that is. That is basically when we started to move to the upside, very similar to what we have. So remember that it is a little bit of a late indicator here, but that was around right in this region. So 19th of October 2020, and that gave us a 480% rise. So I want to see the blue here get above the moving average to give us that momentum drive to the upside. And overall, all these indicators are looking quite good based on the high time frame. So I think that there's some nice swing positions coming in. Even if you did miss, these lows down here and you were not longing down there, then it is ultimately going to be a spot to stay patient here. For example, if we do look at our Fibonacci levels here, go ahead and pull this from our last dip to the downside from the 10th of May. You can see that right above that R3 is the golden pocket, the 0.618, the 0.65. We can go ahead and pull it from the all-time highs. That would be right above $50,000. But at that point, we would have acceptance back into the range. So that would be very important to definitely take note of. Now, going on to the 1 day here, I do want to take a look at the Bitcoin USD charts with you all. So we have found resistance at our highs, guys. We can see this is the 2021 January highs. So yes, we are finding resistance right here. I would not mind a pullback on the lower time frames, but that pullback is going to be extremely important to watch for a higher low on the daily time frame. So as you can see, we have been moving up basically just continuously here on the 1 day, but any pullbacks are not going to be the end of the world. They're going to be an opportunity, in my personal opinion. Now, we've got a new monthly pivot here, which is going to be at $37,716. So my first and key support region is going to be right at that region. That's where I'm going to be watching, as that is going to be the lows here of the 30th of July as well, before our move to the upside. So potentially taking that liquidity there and then getting a bounce there and holding the monthly pivot, that's going to be very, very good for price action overall. But I would not be getting too bullish up here, of course, based on the lower time frames, because they could definitely pull back. It doesn't mean that they will, but with the 1 day stochastic being all the way up here and price action being all the way at the top of the range, and the RSI showing some kind of, potentially head and shoulder formation here, I would not be getting very bullish and, longing into this resistance. Our low risk long positions came at the support region, as you can see here, not at the highs. Okay, so we need to wait for reclaims off the resistance to get the weekly really kicking in at that point, and then look for those swing positions if you are not already in swing positions, because at this point this is going to be a it's getting close even all the way up to the R2, the monthly R2, $45,000, $50,000 to potentially look to fade the move. It's not, prices do not go up in one straight line. Therefore, it is going to be very good to actually at least look for that trade, potentially some short positions. But with the weekly here, gonna have to be very careful with that and just let the 1 day do its thing here, reset potentially coming into this week, or even continue further to the upside. But it's going to be important, once again, to watch if there is a pullback, to watch for that higher low, which is going to be the next buying opportunity. Indeed, in my personal opinion, of course, not financial advice. So going on to the Link USD charts, we can take a look at some high. Actually, we need to look at the monthly here, as we have not. Giving you a very quick update on the monthly, as I did speak about this one here, as we got back in June, we got an indecision candle. So typically on such a big dip to the downside, and if this is going to be a real reversal point, we do not really want to be seeing an indecision candle or a hammer candle or anything like that. You want to be seeing not continuation, rather straight away, but this indecision candle coming in, we spoke about the next month actually closing above the high, and that being a bullish factor. So where is the high of June? It is $41,338, and then where is the closure of this candle? It is $41,447. Therefore, it has just closed above that. That is a good closure in my opinion. Indecision candle, then getting a hammer candle as well, ultimately going to be good for price action. Now we're going to need to continue further up, reclaim the R3 here to have acceptance back into that range, but it's a very similar setup as to what we got here. So back at the highs, you get a little bit of a reversal candle here, and just a little bit of sell pressure coming in, and then you get that continuation drive. So we could definitely be getting the same thing here on the monthly as well, but it's going to be very important to watch those regions and to watch the oscillators that we spoke about. So I like the monthly closure. I don't have any problems with this, and I would be, from just what we have right now, I would ultimately be looking for continuation. But yeah, so going on to the Link USD charts here, and then starting to wrap this up. So Link USD having a nice hammer candle closure on the monthly time frame. It is still not looking as good as Bitcoin in my personal opinion, but going on to the weekly, for example, the weekly is really trying to regain these regions, and the next region, the next important region, is going to be the yearly R3 at $30.48. Yes, it's far away from price action, but that's why we need patience in trading, especially if you are trading the high time frames. Getting above that yearly R3, I think that's going to be the point that we're going to be really getting that momentum coming in for further upside. And now going on to the 1 day here, any pullbacks are also going to be good here, right? Coming back to, let's say, potentially this region is setting in a higher low. We've already got that on our charts. But yeah, so, the monthly pivot is right at 1991, and the region I'm speaking about is 2094, around there. And that's just going to be the wick highs, or we can even take it up, and it would be at 2148. So higher lows there would be good. I just want to see the monthly pivot held here as well. And then the anchored VWAP here from the highs, from the all-time highs regained, as that is where we saw the major sell pressure come in overall. Moving on to Ethereum USD and starting to wrap this up, taking a look at Coinbase charts, Ethereum USD looking extremely good. It did break our key resistance. I don't know what is going on with all these dots on the chart, but I don't seem to save it at all here on the Ethereum chart, but let's go ahead and save it. So basically coming up to the 7th of July highs, that was the resistance that we found, came to the downside. So basically once we do regain that region, you can look for an RS flip, a resistance support flip, and that has been thus far a 7% bounce. Here as well, I wouldn't mind a higher low be set in. It's going to be very important to watch for the bulls to come back in based on that higher low, for a base to be built similar to the setups that we had on longs for Bitcoin on the 4 hour, but now we're talking about the 1 day here. So going on to the weekly time frame, weekly did have a nice hammer candle the previous week, and now we're going to close on potentially a bullish engulfing, which is just even a better sign in my personal opinion. The next major resistance here is of course going to be these two candle bodies here, which is going to make it our weekly horizontal here. So even if you are looking for diagonals, you're going to be wanting to look for those two touches. And so I'll just give this a little bit of a zone here, because we can see these candle bodies. So the first important resistance at $2,713, that is where I think the sell pressure is going to come in. As long as that is regained, we're going to be looking at a zone here. So we can actually put it onto our charts. So this zone is going to base, it is quite large, but remember that this is a high time frame. So $2,921 to $2,713, the $2,713 being the more important region. And Ethereum is going to need to get above there for us to move back to the all-time highs, in my personal opinion. And based on the monthly closure that we got here, overall looking, you know, we got a hammer candle here as well. So that's ultimately looking good. The next monthly will need to close above this hammer candle to confirm it as a more aggressive trade. Taking out the wick high off this region is going to be the long positions initiated already. So this is going to be very important, and I'd still be going off that zone that we just spoke about, as it's just much more clear than the monthly here to myself. And even if we look at the monthly, we have a monthly horizontal here at 2,775. So it's just a massive region. And just for Bitcoin and Ethereum here, you can see that it's getting to regions that we could potentially see this move faded and things change in the market very quickly, right? So things are looking bullish right now, but with those confirmations, as long as those confirmations do come into play, that is when I'll stay, you know, bullish based on the high time frames. But it's going to be very important for the bulls to be able to maintain and regain these massive resistance points, which are the high time frame resistances. At the end of the day, they're going to be much more important. And yeah, so I hope that you have enjoyed today's video. If you have, leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel. I would very much appreciate it. If you would like to join the private technical analysis group, send me a message on Discord. My username is down below in the description, at the top of the description. Have a lovely rest of your weekend, and I'll catch you in tomorrow's one.